Welcome back. All right, no spark. Got a list behind us. I've broken it into two categories: faulty part or faulty fitment. Faulty fitment is all on me, so it's probably going to be in this area. If it's a faulty part, we want to look at things like the pickup, the generator, the coil, the HT leads, the plug, the CDI unit, and the wiring loom. I've been on the boards this week. When I say the boards, I'm talking about the Rd500 owners forum, looking for anybody that's had similar kind of issues. There are quite a few posts like that. So a couple of hot tips to look for in the wiring loom. I think I mentioned before about this bike being very tightly packed in there, and that the wiring loom will only reach exactly where it needs to do. And when they've built this bike, there's not like excess. So if you've routed your cables incorrectly, they could be too tight and you could be straining on a plug or a connector. Things like the connectors not being fitted correctly or backwards or yeah, just not put together very well. When you've stripped down and rebuilt a bike, there's a good way that you can introduce a fault. That we've got. We did have a spark when we originally put the bike together. Then we took a whole bunch of components off when we put coolant in it, and the coolant was pouring out, and we had to go digging into the engine to find out where that missing pipe was. You all right there, Bailey? Having fun? Place your bets, ladies and gents. Where do we think the issue may be? We've had one vote for a CDI. Background on that: when I bought the bikes, both bikes came from the same chap, and he explained to me that one of the CDI units isn't working. So there's a strong likelihood that that could be the case. The fact that we've had a spark from this CDI that's fitted to the bike currently, though, is that because the CDI unit is intermittent, or did we disturb something when we weren't looking for the coolant pipe? Not too sure. Also had a vote for potential problem in the wiring loom. Both bikes were in the same shed fire. Earlier on in this project, probably about 4 episodes ago, we were fitting a Deutsch plug down in the speedo clock area because one end of the cable was really badly melted on that plug, so we had to replace that anyway. So it could be that there's a wire on the main loom somewhere that's been melted, the outer casing's shorting out somewhere. Obviously, being used in the manual, going through all the wiring diagrams and color codings, and there are some very, very good, straightforward, simple to follow guides on how to fault find your ignition system within the manual. And of course, YouTube itself is full of lots and lots of people with similar kind of no spark issues doing fault finding and diagnosis. Some of it's continuity testing, some of it's ohms resistance testing, even just using a straightforward, here we go, a straightforward simple little, so there's a few simple tests, there's some more in-depth tests. Adam, you've brought up your oscilloscope, yeah? Yeah, I brought up an oscilloscope, so when we get running, we can start and look and see if we're getting a good spark, check that the capacitor's working. Anyway, we'll keep you posted as we go. As I said, we'll be using the book, using the flow charts. This is not a how-to video. This is just a video diary of some bloke in a shed down under restoring an old bike. All right, so don't go too crazy. I don't do this professionally. It's just a hobby. All right. If we get it going, it's a win. Thanks. All right, okay. So first test before we get going with the Yamaha flowchart. Pick this up as a top little tip from, I think it's called Diagnose Dan is his channel. Very good. He knows what he's doing, unlike me. So, but where he started was by separating the CDI. And what you're looking for is the wires that go into the CDI on the Yamaha drawing are interrupted by the kill switch, i.e. this kill switch here is represented by number 7 on there. And also at the ignition switch up there, there's also positions in here where that live is basically terminated, bridged out. So first of all, just taking a simple little tester like this, put it on the positive terminal on the battery, put it on the engine, lights up, it's making a circuit, okay? So on here, we've got a red and white that is that red and white gets abridged in 2 different positions to kill it. So at the moment, I should be earthed because the ignition is off and the kill switch is off. So when I find the red and white, which is this lower pin there, so I've got a circuit. Okay, put the ignition on, but the kill switch is still in the off position. So this circuit is still, it's earthed, so I should have a circuit. Bulb illuminates. Put the kill switch in the on position. It's no longer earthed. So therefore it doesn't light up. So that's working as it should be. What I was trying to confirm for myself there was that somehow, somewhere within the kill switch side of things and the ignition switch, that it wasn't earthing out. So that's all good. Now we'll carry on. What's next, mate?
Well, we'll start and go through the fault find list.
Before we do that though, we'll pull off all the air boxes and check all of the plug connections are correct in the harness, because somebody who's not necessarily a professional motorcycle mechanic has recently had all this harness apart and plugged it back together again. Could have got something wrong in there. So we'll check all that stuff first when you see us next. Okay.
All right, go.
Okay, so in our toolkit we have a special tool called a electrical fault finding dog, who will sniff out any issues. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Is that it? Is that wire there, that bare wire that's meant to be earthing here? Yeah, so this bracket, I was looking at it, I was like, what? This kind of looks like it belongs with this, right? And then this clamps around the frame. But whilst I was looking for that, that's when we found that this earth wire had come out from its connection. And okay, well, there's one potential culprit. However, the bigger culprit comes in when you find. Let me just explain what the hell's going on here. This bullet connector was disconnected. Right, that's now connected again. What am I dealing with here? You've got can you see this multi-plug?
Yeah.
Right, so this multi-plug is coming out from the generator, and these two are coming out from the pickup. So if the pickup can't tell when the generator's turning, it won't send the signal to the CDI to say spark now. So I've inadvertently disconnected one of these two when I've been faffing around with all of this gear. We haven't tested for a spark yet, but I 1000% know.
Well, not having a trigger is a pretty important part of when to do the sparky bit.
Yeah. So I'll remount all that and then we'll test for a spark. Pretty likely we're going to get a spark. How simple was that? But it almost means that we're not going to do all of the ohms testing and all the sexy stuff and the oscilloscope and whatnot.
Running bike's a running bike.
Yeah, let's get this thing running, eh? All right.
So what's the verdict?
So we do have a spark. We do have a spark. So was the problem with the wiring loom? Yeah, because if you don't plug it in, then you won't have a pickup signal, so you won't have a spark.
Well, that and earth point.
And earth point, yeah. So definitely the faulty fitment, earth point and plug connection, that's all in the Dave box.
So Yamaha didn't blow it up.
No. And we've now fitted the regulator rectifier correctly using the bracket that the factory issued.
Looks much neater. And
Yeah.
the wires actually go somewhere.
Yeah, the amount of times I looked at that on some of those videos and I knew it was wrong. And I knew that somewhere in one of these little boxes I had a bracket for it. Adam quite correctly pointed out that the bolt goes from
the inside of the frame,
yeah, to mount it.
Wraps around, comes on the inside, and then.
Yeah. So next thing we'll put the tank on, give it some fuel, push it down the hill, and get it going. Hopefully,
We'll see. Go for it.
Okay, so 21 and a half days of work, $10,252. Engine stripped and rebuilt, didn't put new cranks in it. Initially they sound all right, so we'll monitor that situation how we go. The tacho's not working at the minute, so we'll check into that. But yeah, started up literally the first time I rolled it down a hill and rode it down and round and back up again. Obviously fine tuning to do, tick over bits and pieces, put the 2-stroke oil into the tank, bleed that through, get that set up properly. Fuel tank will get sanded, painted. I've got a sticker kit for it, and then we'll refit everything. So you may and may not see anything for a week or two now, but consider that a success. I'm really happy. Any thoughts, Adam?
Yeah. Runs, just fix up the little gremlins, and then now comes the hard part, fettling.
I don't know if that was the hard part.
20% of the work's in the first part, 80% in the getting it fine tuned, and then once you get them once you get them fettled, that's when
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. There's jetting, there's needle setting, and
carbs.
carb balancing. We've got to do that as well. But at least we all know that it runs. The cranks don't sound horrendous. In fact, the whole bike sounded pretty quiet and smooth. I was really impressed. I don't want to run it too long just yet. I want to make sure that everything is correct. But it certainly sounded to me, I'll watch the video back in a minute, but it sounded to me like all four, well, it actually sounded really good. Obviously tick over is not right, but I wasn't expecting it to be, but it's not raring away either, or roaring away either. Anyway, I'm waffling. The point is I'm really, really happy. I'm pleasantly pleased. Yeah, it's been really good fun. So yeah, I'll get it all finished looking nice for the next time you see it.
Yep.